Hey there, Nikki Does here once again. Today I'd like to talk about parts storage, and that's been a topic that has consumed me forever and ever and ever in my work career. Uh, I work with companies or run companies that have anything from pallet size things on pallet racks all the way down to ultra tiny parts that fit in small containers. And really, I've developed some rules and some guidelines for storing parts that I thought would be interesting to share here. So first, I'll just get you mobile and we'll go look at some of the bigger things that I have. This is a basement workshop, by the way. I should have said that earlier. So the biggest thing I have down here would be totes. And the first thing that I'd like to show is the Edsel rivet lock rack, which is these rivets right here. And you push these down, you kind of hammer these in, and the rivets lock in here. These are really great shelves for a certain purpose. I'm quite a fan of the attached lid containers or totes like this. And you're going to see all throughout this video, by the way, that there are a number of things that violate my storage principles because I am still getting everything correct. I'm still getting all this worked together. So these attached lid totes, which I have in 3 different sizes, fit beautifully on these rivet lock shelves. I like the wire decking, not the plywood or OSB decking, because all the debris falls through. I'm not a fan of putting the small stuff up here, but this is still remaining from when I didn't have some of the other storage systems in place, so I'm still getting this put together. This should really not be loose stuff on here. It tends to fall through. It tends to be messy and hard to find. So not a great thing. And you can see I'm clearing out spaces right here. So the second category is the Metro wire shelving like this. This is actually a Seville Classics brand, but I think the original was Metro Rack. Metro is really cool. The drawback to Metro is that once you set these post heights, they're quite hard to change without removing everything from the rack or having a helper or two or something like that. These are really easy to change their heights. The drawback to these is that the individual shelf height is quite thick, so they're not very storage efficient if you're having lots of shelves on a particular rack. I would say 5 shelves is the maximum I would put on these for usual applications. These Metro shelves are also mobile, so you can roll them around, which is great for cleaning underneath them or reorganizing. These are not mobile. The Edsel rivet lock is not mobile, but you'll notice I always put about 3 inches underneath everything so I can sweep out, and then you don't have debris, and if stuff falls behind there, you can get to it, even though you have to crawl around to get to it. But nevertheless, you can get to stuff and clean it out. This is all kind of loose stuff right now, but this really, I don't want this to be here. And now that I've finished the next thing I'm going to show you, you'll see there's quite a bit of empty space on these Metro racks. May not look like a lot of empty space, but they were chock full before. So let's go over here and show the storage wall that I started out with. And we'll start to get into some of these rules and how they work. So I've got this wall right here is covered in Metro rack, the wire racking behind here. And there is enough space between the wall and the door that I could put some more storage. So what I did was to put a unistrut rail up here along the ceiling. I welded some brackets on there and leveled it out and got it onto the ceiling. And then I built these storage trolleys, and they run on trolley hangers up in that Metro rack. So the storage trolleys are each plywood units that hang. You can see it's kind of swinging here. So they hang from the ceiling, and that means I can roll them like those library shelves. And now I can put oodles and oodles of small parts storage in a very space-efficient way. I never even counted, but there are 16 drawer units. I think I've got, 8 of them or something in this vertical. So, and then I've got larger part storage. These are both Acro
drawer systems. The bigger Acro drawers, the smaller Acro drawers. I've got Plano multi-compartment bins here, and I go back to Acro. You'll see I have quite a bit of Acro stuff here. Back to, these are called Acro bins, and they're ubiquitous, and you can get knockoffs at Harbor Freight and Northern Tool and all sorts of places. So let's talk a little bit about what each of these is good for, and then we'll talk a little bit about the rules for storage that I have for each too. So in typical Nikki Does fashion, we'll have no editing on this video. Give me a second here. All right. So there's one more I didn't show, which is the Gridfinity. I forgot while the camera was still loose. If you're not familiar with Gridfinity, you're probably not in the hobby thing at all. Gridfinity has definitely taken the world by storm. So super small parts belonging to Gridfinity, and I've got drawer units, excuse me, Alex drawer units that I use for those. So let's start at the big. We talked about the large racks, and we have the attached lid containers. Those happen to be from Acro also, but there are other brands. So if you've got very large parts, that you've got a lot of parts or bigger, I set them into Acro bin, into the Acro bin totes, the attached lid containers. For smaller parts, I go with the Acro bins like this. And one of the rules, which you'll see violated throughout here, for the same reason I mentioned earlier, I'm just not done yet. One of the rules is that parts should not exceed the bounds of the bin. So in the attached lid containers, you don't want the lids to sit up on top. For these, you don't want the parts to sit out like this. You want them to stay within the bounds of the bin, front and top. And there's reasons for that. I didn't just make these up. There's absolutely good reasons for that. And then the same, obviously, for these. If your parts don't fit in here, you're not going to close the lid. So, yeah. So pluses and minuses. These are really great for easy access. You can see quickly what's in them. You can reach in and grab a thing. They're also available in lots and lots of sizes. So these are a go-to for me for parts that I need quick access to, or are heavier, that sort of thing. They're not quite as storage dense. You'll have more space in between, and you can't really arbitrarily get them all tight. So you're going to have fewer different item types in a given like surface area of storage. These are exactly the same, obviously just bigger, and you're going to have some problems with your shelf heights because they're available in different heights. So if you want the lower height ones here, you probably like this one. I don't think I can fit a third bin. Oh, I can't. Some of them I can't fit a third bin on top. So, that's just maybe this one down here. So when you set your shelf height, you've got multiples, like your kind of floor division problem where you're looking to fit how many of each different type you can in there. Great job for a spreadsheet or perhaps a little Python program. These are great for some things and terrible for others. These are, you don't get to see by visual look what's in the back of them. So if you've got, these are wall anchors, I just have to trust that everything in here is wall anchors, and it's not. I've got some regular screws in the front of here. So inventory is not visual on something like this, not nearly as visual. The good news, though, is that you've got remote projects, like if you need to go up and do some wiring in the attic and you know that you need wire connectors, you can bring the whole assortment of wire connectors up with you, and then you're not making trips up and down the attic stairs over and over to go get whatever it is that you need. So when I go do non-workshop projects, I can generally grab 3 or 4 of these bins. I have a bag that I set them in, and I bring them over to where the project is. And when it comes time to clean up, which I don't know who likes cleanup, right? So when it comes time to clean up, this is really easy to slide them right back in to their little holders. So all of these red ones used to be on the Metro shelves that we saw earlier that are emptying out. So that was chock full, and now it turned into, I don't know what the floor space is in this, but it's hardly 2 square feet.
So really that became unbelievably storage efficient. Now these Acro drawers, and there are two sizes of them. We've got the, let's zoom in a little bit, we've got the wide ones and the smaller ones. And these, there are so many things these wide ones are great for. I've got extra Craftsman sockets. For whatever reason, I've standardized on Craftsman sockets. So I've got lots of extra Craftsman sockets for when I lose something or whatever else. The narrow ones, though, are fantastic for smaller parts. They're not quite, Gridfinity is great, but it has a couple shortcomings. This is really cool for visual inventory because I can see all the fronts of everything. I can just do a big glance and find what it is that I need. Both of these wide drawers and the narrow drawers have the ability to partition the drawers. And interestingly, on the backs of the drawer boxes come the partitions. Now, I've bought extra partitions, but these happen to be from the backs of the drawers. So both of these are molded right into the back, and you cut them out. So this is black because the frame for the drawer is black. And I just set these in. Can I get them in here? I just set these in here like this. So now on the outside chance that you'd like to have two partitions here, you can do that. It basically makes one of the wide drawers into two narrow drawers. The narrow drawer can also be partitioned. This one is partitioned from front to back, which kind of reduces your visibility on there, but it does give you more storage, like concentration. At this point, you might want to go to the Gridfinity parts, though. The biggest problem I have with this front and back situation is the labeling, and I'll show you what I've been using for labeling on both of these. I'm a fan of the Brother P-Touch system, and I've really focused on, for highest contrast, I've focused on the white label on the front. And I know it doesn't look like the best contrast here, but the black label I just don't see nearly as well as I see the white label. So when this is not top lit like this and the drawer is closed, I can read that really easily. In this case, I'm using an 18 millimeter, and I use two lines of type on here. So you could, of course, partition the left side and the right side to show what's in each of those if you do partition across the bin. On the smaller Acro bin, I'm also standardizing on the clear, and I think this one is also 18 millimeters. I haven't gotten to this one yet. So let's use this drawer. So again, I believe an 18 millimeter, I'm not positive on this, but maybe a 12 high sits here. And again, I've used the white on clear labeling. That way I can see what's inside of it visually, and I can read the label on the front. Yeah, my rules that I mentioned earlier are generally one part type per bin. It's really you can be it's tempting to put multiple parts in the same bin. You look at them and you say they're really close, but they're not identical. And it's tempting to want to just put them together, but it makes tracking so much harder. So throughout here, we're definitely doing same multiple parts in a bin. It's not ideal for this, but if you're in a manufacturing production sense, you would never, when you reach for a thing, you should be able to go grab this, reach in here blindly, take a part out, and that part should be ready to use. You shouldn't have to do a lot of decision making when you're looking through here and pawing through. It makes the first scenario I just mentioned is much harder. The second problem is it makes inventorying this really hard. Like, how many parts do I have left? Do I have 1 or 100? You'd have to kind of partition these inside and manually count them, and that's no good. So if you can afford the space and the materials, if you can get to 1 part per storage container, you're way better off. So the last thing I'll show in here, which is also in process, is the Gridfinity stuff that I've been working on. And that is here in these IKEA Alex drawer units. And you can see here, I've got Gridfinity going on. And one of the things I've got with the Gridfinity is I do like to label the height of each bin that the drawer can take. So this drawer can take a 12U high bin, and that's this one right here, and it barely clears the top. So you can see if the parts were sticking out of the top of this bin, I would have trouble closing the drawer, but in this case I have zero trouble. The Gridfinity has been really great. The only drawback is it's compelling to want to stack things. But if you stack the bins, you'll have no idea that you have a set of stacked bins. So really, I've standardized on only doing the bins in one layer. I also played around with the multi-compartment bins like this, thinking that I could do, for example, these bullet terminals, commonly available in small, medium, and large wire crimp ranges. And I thought this would be really great. It's kind of a mix between the Gridfinity single unit bin and the Plano storage that we looked at over here, because you've got a kit of things that you could pick up and take with you over to whatever you're doing and get all three. I don't think I really like to do this because invariably you have three sizes and you're excited everything works, and then suddenly you have a need for a fourth size, and there is a fourth size that is in this series. And now you have to figure out what are you going to do. Print another one that's got 4 compartments and relabel everything and so on and so on. So that's kind of a big no-no. I don't think I'm going to be doing that very often. Maybe certain select things. For the most part, I'm sitting with either a single bin or these split bins where there are just 2. But I like this layout. I like the 1 unit wide by 1 unit high, so it just fits right in there. That seems to work really well for pretty much every part in here. What you'll notice all throughout here is that the labeling is not done. And I've got a couple ideas for that, but I think I'll hold those for another video when I get to the next level. If I'm to be honest, I was excited to show you how this storage stuff has worked out. So I would love to hear your comments on what you think about storage and how it works out for you. If you've got ideas for me, of course, I will gladly take them. And thank you for watching. Thank you so much.